24-year-old Max Munro has been on an incredible roller coaster journey so far, stepping into the yoga world at age 16, which paid dividends later in life when yoga was cited at speeding up his recovery from a traumatic brain injury. We are stoked to welcome London-based yoga teacher Max on board as a warrior addict brand warrior. How you doing?
I'm real good. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Now, Max, you've had an interesting route into your first yoga class when you were just 16.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how your journey started?
Right from the start, I went to America when I left school at 16.
Mm-hmm.
I was there to pursue more martial arts and stunt school to get into film. And just by coincidence, my mum was doing a yoga teacher training. She eventually dragged me along to one of her classes that she'd been attending. I went along. There was lots of kind of different groups there, guys, people who were younger doing it, and it was really, really tough. And I think after doing probably 3 classes back to back, within a few days, I was just like beat. Like, this is so good, mentally, physically, I feel amazing. I then continued to go for about a month on this kind of upfront pass. And at the end of that month, the main teacher there said, "Oh, have you thought about doing a teacher training before?" And I was like, I laughed. I was like, "No, not really. Like, it's not really for me." And he's like, well, I grew up in a yoga ashram. I've been doing it since I was like 10 years old and been teaching since a young age. And it's the best thing he'd ever done, apparently. He sold me on his lifestyle and what he's up to now. And he was 37, 38 at the time.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, fair enough. I'll look into it. I looked into it, and there was a course starting like a week later in Miami. So flew from LA to Miami for a holiday. Stayed there for 3 weeks, and I did a 2-week intensive 200-hour training in Budokan. And it was only me and one other person on the training. So it was really, really like intense, like full on work, everything just kind of me and her. And then came home in December 2012, I think that was, 2013, and was like, I'm not going to do anything with this. I got a job at a hotel, did that for a year and a half, realised that I could be making way more money than I was working in the hotel for the half the time or even just an hour of the time. I did another training, only a 60-hour one, which was, I think, a hot sequence at that point.
Yeah.
Still didn't have the confidence. So still, I was 17, 18 at the time. I was like, I don't know what to do. Still nervous. I then did Broga training, which just really brought out my confidence in teaching and taught me how to be a teacher instead of just how to do yoga. And since that was when I was 19, and then I started full-time teaching at 19. And it's been pretty whirlwind up until February last year, where I fell off a roof. Had a brain injury, broke my neck, fractured my skull, broke bones in my face, and had 2 severe bleeds on the brain. And that's when things kind of came tumbling down. Like, you're not going to walk properly again if you survive operation. Like, he's not going to be that functional in society. A bit of a vegetative state, maybe paralyzed. And then after I'd kind of come out of surgery and I'd come out of intensive care, they kind of said, like, it's gone well, but we're not very high hopes. Like, his injury was in the top 20% of kind of fatal injuries for brains. And I then was very unaware. I was oblivious to all this, really. It was all my parents that was getting told this. And once I was off medication and able to kind of stand up and walk about, I was like, I feel all right. I just, I feel unsteady, but I don't really know what's going on. And then that's when I think yoga training kicked in, and my balance came back. Everything just started feeling normal. And as soon as the morphine had stopped and like run out after like 4 weeks, I just literally clicked. I was like, why am I in hospital? What the hell's going on? I feel fine. Get me out of here. And they're like, we've got to keep you here because your brain's still not healing properly. Your memory's still bad. And I was oblivious to it at the point. I was like, I'm fine. And then every week I would notice a difference. Like, okay, I wasn't fine. Now I feel fine. And then a week later, the same thing. Like, I feel better than I did last week. And that still happens to this day. Every month or so, I notice a shift in how I feel mentally and physically. But that's supposed to last for 2 years. So I've got another 8 months of that to come.
So how has yoga played a part in your recovery? Obviously, the fact that you did yoga has helped, but now moving forward, what?
I think just because I did quite a lot. I was teaching 15 classes a week and doing a little bit of my own practice, and I loved the stronger stuff, power yoga, building up for like handstands and all the arm balances. And to get strong with that style, I was always pushing myself, doing multiple push-ups in my kind of chaturanga sequences. And then I think after months and months of doing that, just the subtle changes become quite big, and then all the muscles in my body started really working together. And I was like, okay, I can do handstands now. And then it was like, I want to be able to do floating handstands and one-hand handstands and all of that. And I think having that strong practice made my mind pretty strong with it.
Yeah, of course.
I hadn't necessarily done a lot of meditation, and I was kind of skeptical about that side of the practice. And I think unknowingly I had been meditating through the practice and been very focused. And now I believe my main thing with yoga is, I think yoga is self-awareness. Because I'm certainly 100% sure that I'm more aware than any other 23-year-old I know. Whether they do a lot of fitness or meditation or whatever, I just definitely know that they're not as clued up in the sense that I am, even though I'm hopeless at computer skills and academically. But in terms of like being grateful and right here and present in the moment in this world, I definitely feel like I've sussed that. Maybe you have to be so close to death to kind of realize that, or maybe that's with yoga. I think it's a bit of both. And yeah, I'm glad the accidents happened. I'm so grateful I found yoga. It's the best job to be doing in terms of my injury, because it gets me tired, but it also gets me out of the tiredness, if that makes sense.
How do you think things might have been different had you not become a yogi before that accident?
I don't know. I assume maybe the accident would have always happened because I was always climbing. So it was either I would have had the yoga body or not. I think if I had hit the concrete, my body wouldn't have been as subtle and as prepared for a whack to the head like that. I think I probably would have died there and then on the spot if I had quite a, unactive lifestyle.
Wow, thank God for yoga.
Yeah, right.
Now, you're the youngest person to qualify as a Budokan teacher.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about what drew you to that particular teacher training.
I think when we looked up teacher trainings, that's the only one we found that was kind of in the country, still like quite close within the next month.
Yeah. Okay.
And my dad done martial arts kind of his whole life, and I'd done a few years of martial arts. He's like, there's this one called Budokan, and it is yoga and martial arts and a belt system. So we had a little look at it on YouTube, and then flew over and met Cameron, who founded it. And then I trained with him personally. It was just like, he was like, I want you to train with me. And because you're so young, I'll give it to you for half price. What do you say? It starts on Monday. I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. So
meant to be.
Yeah.
What makes your classes unique?
I don't know. I think because I'm young, I've got that kind of childish mindset still, and I don't take myself too seriously. I don't let anyone have their ego inflated in the class. My music playlist a little bit more current and what I listen to, and I want to have, especially now, I want to have something that's really relatable. So you get to know everyone quite personally. And with Broga, you have this Broga buddy up where you get everyone in the class to go together at the end of the class and do this partner stretch.
Right.
So you're like, okay, guys, we're going to do this. I know as an English group, we're maybe quite reserved and we don't want to touch each other, and you want to be like, stay away from me. But just shake hands, say your name, say something, what you do. And then we're going to help each other with arm balance or with this stretch. And then just like that, they've made a kind of small connection where next week they can be like, oh, hi, you're Karen from last week. And then boom, there's a little kind of connection there. And that can just start the domino effect. So I try to do that in yoga classes as well as broga classes. And to get a younger all generations drink, but I think for youngsters 18 to 25 that are drinking, they let the hangover get the better of them and they don't exercise. So there's certain exercise I'll do. I'm like, try this out. If you're going to go for a drink this evening on a Friday and you're going to feel shit tomorrow on the Saturday, I want you to try this, I want you to try that. And then I'll kind of explain them through like a little workshop in my classes.
Right. It's like a sequence of postures or...
Yeah, so I'll just go through the normal yoga flow and then I'll break it down like, right, next 2 minutes, we're going to do yoga for your hangover tomorrow. And I'll just go through like a 2-minute sequence where they're practicing. So if they don't do any yoga, they can just up, hungover, sit and just be like, right, I'm going to do one twist, one side stretch, just get the liver, kidneys, all that kind of functioning movement and just feel good.
That's a really practical sort of take-home thing there. That's great. So you sound like a pretty sporty guy, like skateboarding and snowboarding, and biking, running, rowing, rugby. What's your main sport?
I can't do it often enough, but snowboarding is my favourite. I do want to try to do a season at some point. Hopefully, instead of just doing your usual ski chalet seasons, I'll teach yoga in the hotels and stuff like that, and then I can do some snowboarding. If that doesn't happen, then I do want to do some sort of adrenaline rush kind of stuff, like wakeboarding, water skiing, skydiving, mountaineering stuff. But I also got to be careful with my head nowadays. I can't afford to have too much of a hit to it.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of, I contradict myself with what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, how does yoga complement these different activities?
It makes my body move more freely. I always wanted to be able to do backflips and gymnastics and that kind of stuff. And yoga's helped me get to that because I've got the flexibility. I've got the power in my legs to be able to jump quite high, to get the tuck, to do a flip. I also have the awareness to think, okay, how close am I to the ground? How close is my head to the ground? How can I do the mathematics with my body to get into this flip without actually hitting my head? And I just feel very aware. I can like picture how something's going to go, like visualize it, and then you make it happen. Same with like skateboarding. If I'm trying to do certain tricks, I just kind of visualize it. I'm like, right, this is where my body needs to lean. This is where my weight needs to shift. Can I do it? And then just try it a few times or a lot of times, and then I get it stuck.
So yoga is, as we know, considered, often seen as a female-dominated activity. What advice would you give to guys that are apprehensive about stepping onto the mat for the first time?
Well, there's a few ways. One's a little bit more to do with, if you're looking for a relationship and you want to hang out with more of sexy people, look, I'm a yoga teacher.
Lure them in.
And then it's going to kind of loop in that way. And in school, especially, I told my mates, like, I'm a yoga teacher. Or when I was, 17, and all my mates were just like, "What? Nah, that's so embarrassing. That's like for old people." And the girls were just like, "Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool." And I was like, "Yeah, all right." And then I kind of went down that path and just thought, you know what, like I should stick with something like this. I could see like a future with a yogi wife. We both, have quite limited schedules where we could raise a family. And I was kind of just thinking ahead all the time, just like yoga's a good career. Guys should get into it. One, it's going to keep them fit. A lot of fit women doing it and vice versa. And it's just makes you a more open person to have these kind of relationships and whatever you want to do that way. But in terms of like a more real world thing, I think it's just so good for the body to be flexible and strong in kind of equal coalition sort of thing. So you're not one side of the spectrum where you're really, really flexible, but your joints are just out of place and not holding properly. Whereas the yoga can reinforce them and make sure the structure of the body, is strong. And I think it complements things like weightlifting, bodybuilding. They can be like, okay, just because I'm trying to go so far in one direction, yoga's going to help me bring that back in the other direction a little bit.
Well, what do you say to guys that are like that get all that, but are just so intimidated to step foot into a yoga
try
studio?
It, and if you don't like it, I'm sure we can work out some sort of bet or arrangement that I'm the one that suffers. You're going to turn up for free. If you like it, you donate what you want to donate. If you don't like it, I'll eat my hat, sort of thing.
Sounds like a good deal. All right, finally, before you leave us, Max, can you give us some words of wisdom?
Off the top of my head?
Off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, I think yoga is the perfect thing to find your self-direction in what you want to do in life. Basically, how you want to find a purpose. Although I think my purpose was changed due to the accident I had, I still truly now believe that I'm on this earth for a purpose. And I think once you find that purpose, you'll be so content with life. And I think yoga will help you find your purpose, whether it's to do yoga and help people do yoga, or whether it's to do something in the corporate world. But using yoga to get there is the way to do it.
And what's your purpose?
My purpose is to get youngsters first into yoga, in schools. Then it's to become a bit of a yoga influencer, should we say, to be one of the founding fathers of a style of my own creation within yoga, and just loads and loads of ideas I just want to create all the time.
Wonderful. So where can we find you? Like your Instagram, website, where you're teaching?
So I'm teaching at the moment kind of all over London, and back where my parents live over in Berkshire, in Newbury. I'm still kind of half recovering and half doing that. So I live at home, save rent, and then I go back to my house in London, and then it's kind of cheap to pay the rent that way. And like Instagram is what I'm using to kind of promote myself, which is yoga to the max, little play on words. Because I want to make yoga to the maximum level. Even though it shouldn't be a competition, but I think competition is what gets youngsters' egos fried, and they're like, okay, I want to do yoga so I can do this and that. And I feel like yoga maybe one day will be an Olympic kind of a sport. And that's something maybe I'll be hitting the right kind of time in my life where yoga becomes an Olympic sport, and I can maybe find a way into the Olympics of representing the country, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for chatting to us. And can I just say how much I love your hair?
Thank you. I'm currently going to dye it today, I think. I'm not sure. I bought a full hair dye.
Very
the
cool.
purple wanted to go a bit light, and I wanted to be darker. So I was either going to be dyeing it back to blonde, starting again, but I don't want my hair to fall out. So
it's very nice. Guys, if you want to read more about Max, you can check out his personal page at the Warrior Addict website, www.warrioraddict.com. And thank you so much, Max, for the chat. It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit, and hope to see you around.